Magyar szólások és közmondások angolul beszélőknek.
Hungarian sayings and proverbs for English speakers. Popular at Christmas.
Kapós, mint karácsonykor a famozsár.
So we're going to have a look at a Christmas-themed saying for this week. So our first word is karácsony, which is Christmas. Here we have karácsonykor. Kor means age, time, period. You also use it in phrases like 5 órakor, at 5 o'clock, or gyerek, or more commonly, gyermekkor, which means childhood. Famozsár, made up of actually two words. Fa means tree or wood. Mozsár is a mortar and pestle. Here we have fa, in this case meaning wood, a wooden mortar and pestle. We have a couple of other words in here. Kapós means popular. Mint is as. So, word by word, popular as Christmas time, the wood mortar and pestle. So, as popular at Christmas time as a wooden mortar and pestle. Basically, very popular. Now, why would this be? As part of Christmas, traditionally there was a lot of walnut and poppy seed used, and for this reason you need a mortar and pestle to grind it into a paste. So let's have a look at some of the words associated with those nuts and seeds. Dill is a nut, but normally it means a walnut. Mark is poppy seed. There was a lot of folklore associated with mark. For example, in the presence of a witch, you throw mark at them and they will spend their time picking up the individual seeds and you can get away. But at Christmas time, it's more about a fertility charm. Mark symbolises a plentiful harvest for the year to come. What sort of dishes do you find dill and mark in? The most iconic is probably bagely. And you have two versions. You can either have it with walnut or have it with poppy seed. A friend of mine was recently looking for a recipe in an old book for bagely and couldn't find it. Its other name is tekech, which means a reel, a spool, a coil, or roll. So you either call it mákos bagely or mákos tekech, poppy seed roll. Same with diós. You can have one or the other. Zserbo. We looked at zserbo last week, and this is one of the many sweet courses that you could have at Christmas, and it has a walnut and apricot filling in it. Another thing you can do with the mákos is you can make a poppy seed bread pudding. So there's lots of variations of this, and it's used on Christmas Eve throughout Central Europe. The main focus in Hungary is actually for Christmas Eve rather than Christmas Day. So the Christmas Eve is spent with your immediate family, parents, children, grandparents, and maybe some close friends. There are all sorts of things you can decorate with: candles, trees, apples, which represent good health. And on Christmas Eve, there is a Christmas dinner. So Christmas Eve, karácsony est. You may remember this from phrases like jó estét, good evening. Karácsonykor, here we're using the word fa to mean tree. Ajándék, which means gifts. Now this is the second lot of gifts that most people will get. The first lot of gifts come on the 6th of December. That's from Mikolás, St. Nicholas. These are the gifts from baby Jesus. On the tree you may have karácsonykor, which is sort of a little lolly, and you can hang that on the tree. And the other one you might have is mézes kalács, and so this is like a gingerbread, and it's rolled flat, baked, and then you can decorate it and you can hang that on the tree too, or just eat it. It's very nice. What sort of things might you be eating at Christmas? The most traditional is the holos lei. Hol being a fish, holos being a fisherman, and holos lei being fisherman soup. This is one dish that has many, many variations. There are 3 main variations depending on what part of Hungary you're in: around the Tisza, around the Danube, and at the Balaton. And this is partly because they have different types of fish in each of those areas. But it gets right down to individual villages will have their own variation of holos lei. It takes a long time to prepare, from what I've been told, and the fish is, you basically boil the fish for hours, and then later on you add in the little bits of fish afterwards. So it's actually like a clear soup with paprika, mustn't forget the paprika, and then you can put in some pieces of fish afterwards. Something else that's quite traditional at Christmas is tortot kapusta, stuffed cabbage. There's only 2 main variations with this, is whether you use fresh cabbage or whether you use savanu kapusta, which is basically sauerkraut. And something that you may not realise if you don't live in Hungary is that they also make savanu kapusta with whole cabbages. So when you actually pickle a batch of cabbage, you'll have layers of shredded cabbage, full-size cabbages, shredded cabbages, full-size cabbages. And in this way you can use the whole leaves for actually rolling your stuffed cabbage. The next one is a little bit old-fashioned, possibly. So in the old days, when winter came along, one of the things that you did is you basically ate your stock, which included your pigs, disno. Groups of people would gather together and they'd spend a whole day slaughtering and putting away a pig. So you'd make blood pudding out of it, you'd make sausages, you'd make kulka, you'd salt and smoke solana. Keep in mind, in the old days there was no refrigeration, and this pig would have to last you for months. But as part of the Christmas celebration, you would eat some of that pig. Of course, these days people don't keep pigs. We do have refrigeration, and the disno tour is becoming a thing of the past. You've probably got health regulations in there as well. In modern Hungary, you're more likely to get a turkey. Pulko is a turkey. It is often stuffed with chestnuts. Obviously, this is a reasonably modern tradition, possibly inherited from the United States. The turkey isn't eaten on Christmas Eve, but rather on Christmas Day. So what about New Zealand? Well, the first obvious thing is that New Zealand's Christmas is in the summer. A white Christmas is extremely unusual. The other thing to keep in mind is that New Zealand is pretty much a secular country. There will be a small number of people who still find a religious significance in Christmas, but it is very small. For most people, Christmas is a time to get together with family and exchange gifts and have a holiday. When I was growing up, New Zealand basically shut down from just before Christmas until well after the New Year. These days, that has shrunk a little bit as shops tend to be open a lot more than they used to. But people in professional jobs, for example, would expect to get from the few days before Christmas to well after the New Year off. As far as food goes, you will see some of the English traditional food with a roast lamb, again roast turkey is quite common in New Zealand as well, with many types of vegetables including new potatoes. New potatoes are vital, and salads or something light. And of course desserts. Pavlova is a must, often with sliced kiwi fruit on top. But for other people, they might just have a barbecue, even a barbecue on the beach. Gifts in New Zealand are exchanged on Christmas Day itself, not Christmas Eve like as in Hungary. While Hungary has Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, New Zealand has Christmas Day and Boxing Day. That's the day after. Both are statutory holidays. Seeing as it's Christmas, we won't have a formal grammar lesson this time.
Kapós, mint karácsonykor a famozsár.
as popular as a wooden mortar and pestle at Christmas. Very popular. I wish you a very Merry Christmas, Bulldog Karácsony, and a Happy New Year.